Hi all, so you've probably guessed based on the intro, this video is going to be about Kurt Cobain and his watch, and it's my quest really to find people who are a little bit more interesting than the average, you know, rapper or whatever who has a bit more interesting watches as well, because let's be honest, though we do love watches, a lot of people do tend to have the same watches. So one of my biggest passions is music, and due to my age, I grew up in the 90s, and therefore Kurt Cobain was someone who was in my life and who I looked up to and things like that. And I knew about his watch and you might not, so I thought you might find it interesting. Let me know if there's a famous person or a celebrity or a role model that you have and you know about what was their watch choice, because one thing is that it's quite difficult to find these examples, because for example, some of my favourite musicians, Scott Walker, who was in the Walker Brothers, and not Kurt Cobain, Graham Parsons, who was a country singer. I can't find anything on either of those and their watches. Perhaps they didn't wear one. And I think it's an interesting topic in itself, you know, are high-end watches kind of rock and roll, you know, because some reputable musicians, you know, John Lennon and Eric Clapton and people like that are associated with fine watches, but you wouldn't expect some of these rebellious people to have these things, or would you, you know? So, Kurt Cobain's watch, I'll put a picture up on the screen in a second, but I think just a bit of background. I remember reading once about Kurt Cobain, and it basically said that he was kind of an anti-fashion type person, if you like. So he deliberately wore really cheap clothes, deliberately ate the cheapest food. I remember reading about he ate peanut butter and jam sandwiches as a matter of course for his dinner, because he just didn't care about that sort of thing. Another thing I read recently actually was when he became famous, he bought a bunch of medical kind of skeletons and things like that, anatomical products, because he was obsessed with them, and he just managed to get some money. So, you know, he wasn't a conventional guy, if you like, and it's reflected in his watch choice. So this is Kurt Cobain's watch, and very interesting piece, as you can see, and it's something that we probably haven't seen on watch channels in relation to Audemars Piguet and Patek and things like that. So this is a Tom Peterson watch, and Tom Peterson was a retailer and a local kind of television personality in Portland, Oregon, and he made a bunch of commercials and things like that, and he was really kind of quite famous in America, obviously during Kurt Cobain's youth. You see Kurt Cobain wearing this all the time. You see him wearing it on the Unplugged video, and you'll see various pictures in a second as well, and you can see some quite macabre photos of him wearing it in other situations. You'll guess what I mean by that. So Kurt Cobain, just a bit of a background on Kurt. He was born in 1967 and he died in 1994 at his own hand. He was the leader of the band Nirvana, and I grew up listening to Nirvana, and albums like Bleach and Nevermind and In Utero were really famous at the time. So this was a promotional watch, and it was made to promote Tom Peterson's businesses. He sold electronics and things like that, and apparently Courtney Love actually gave it to Kat Bjelland, who is from the Babes in Toyland, after Kurt died, and apparently it stopped a week after he died as well, which is quite interesting. And quote here from an article that I read, it said, Kurt tried so hard not to be cool and fashionable, but he ended up being cool and fashionable.
It's Tom Peterson's Mother's Day sale. A General Electric video recorder just for mom. At our best price ever.
Tom Peterson is known for things such as the thing on the screen, his flash sales, and his commercials which encourage people to buy things. In this case it's a video recorder. But I think it's interesting because it shows really that watches are not just about how expensive it is, whether it's a fine watch made out of precious metals and things like that. It's more interesting than that. And you can see that Kurt Cobain made an interesting choice that perhaps other people wouldn't. And I think it brings us back to this idea that it's not about how valuable the watch is objectively or in itself. It's more about what we give to that piece and how it expresses our individual style, really. I think doing research for this video, I've seen that it's been auctioned. I don't know how much it's sold for or anything like that. But to a certain extent, that's not the point. The point is that, you know, the pieces that you wear become part of your identity, become part of who you are. And that's the important thing with watches, with fashion, with anything really. You know, and it becomes a little bit boring when we're just buying the same pieces and, you know, AP Royal Oak and Patek Philippe Calatrava or whatever else. This is much more interesting, and I hope you agree. So yeah, tell me if there's any famous people or celebrities or role models or anything that you look up to and you know of their watches. And, you know, I'd love to do research on other things as well in relation to this. If you liked the video, please subscribe, and thanks very much for watching. Bye bye.